The World Cup final. A billion people watching. Your entire office is losing their minds. And you're just sitting there, thinking about lunch. You've felt this before. That weird silence inside you when everyone else is screaming. And you've probably wondered, is something wrong with me? The answer might surprise you. Picture this. It's Monday morning, you walk into the office, and immediately you can feel it. The energy is different. Everyone is gathered around someone's desk, replaying highlights, arguing about calls, dissecting every minute of a game you didn't watch. You grab your coffee, you nod, you smile at the right moments, but inside, nothing. Complete silence. And here's the thing, it's not that you hate sports. Maybe you actually enjoy running or shooting hoops with friends on a weekend. But watching a game, sitting there for 2 hours, emotionally invested in whether a ball crosses a line, that's where you check out. So you've tried, you really have. You sat down for a big game once, hoping something would click. And for a while, you watched the crowd more than the match, wondering what they're feeling that you simply aren't. That's not laziness. That's not a character flaw. That's a very specific psychological gap, and it has a name. Most people will give you the easy answer. You're introverted. You're not competitive. You just didn't grow up around sports. And maybe some of that is true. But none of it actually explains why the feeling isn't there. It just describes the symptom, not the cause. To find the real answer, we need to go back, way back, about 200,000 years. Your ancestors lived in small tribes, and the single most important skill they had, more than hunting, more than fire-making, was knowing who was in the group and who was out. Because getting that wrong could kill you. So your brain evolved a system, a rapid, automatic, deeply emotional system for detecting us versus them. Tribal markings, shared rituals, group victories and defeats that everyone felt together. That system didn't disappear. It's still running, right now, in every sports stadium on the planet. The jersey is the tribal marking. The chant is the shared ritual. The goal, that moment of collective explosion, is your nervous system firing exactly the way it was designed to, 200,000 years ago. Notice what happens after a big win. Fans flood the streets wearing their team's colors. They say, "We won," not "they won." Their self-esteem genuinely rises, as if they scored the goal themselves. Psychologist Robert Cialdini called this pattern basking in reflected glory, the way people absorb a team's success into their own identity. And after a loss, that "we" quietly disappears. It becomes "they lost." Same team, same game, but the moment it stops feeling good, people unconsciously step back from the identity. That's how powerful this tribal system is. But it only works if it was switched on in the first place. And the window for activation is narrow. It usually happens in childhood, through repetition, through emotion, through someone you love pulling you close and saying, "This matters." A father lifting his kid onto his shoulders when the home team scores. A grandmother who never missed a single game. A city that stopped breathing for 90 minutes every Sunday. Not because sports are objectively important, but because the people who mattered to you treated them as important. If that never happened to you, if no one ever handed you a jersey and said, "This is your team," your tribal system just found a different arena. Maybe it's a field of ideas, a creative pursuit, a profession you're quietly obsessed with, a conversation at 2 in the morning with people who think the way you do. You still have the system, you're not broken, you just built a different kind of tribe, one that doesn't need a scoreboard to know who belongs. We tend to assume that people who don't follow sports are somehow less social, less passionate, less engaged with the world. But the psychology tells a different story. First, contrarian insight. Think about what watching a game actually requires of you. You hand your emotional state over to 22 strangers. Your mood for the entire evening, maybe the entire week, gets decided by a ball hitting a post instead of going in, by a referee's split-second call, by pure indifferent chance. For some people, that's the thrill. The surrender of control is the point. But for others, that kind of emotional outsourcing feels deeply uncomfortable, not because they're closed off, but because they've quietly decided that how they feel shouldn't be determined by something so random, so completely outside their influence. That's not detachment. That's a form of emotional sovereignty. Second, if you were ever pushed into watching sports as a kid, dragged to games you didn't choose, forced to care about something that meant nothing to you, something quietly backfired. Because the more someone pressures you to enjoy something, the more your mind pulls in the opposite direction. Psychologist Jack Brehm called this psychological reactance, the instinct to resist whenever we feel our freedom of choice is being taken away. In plain terms, every time someone forced you to care about a game, they weren't building a sports fan, they were building a wall. And third, perhaps the most uncomfortable insight of all, sport at its core is a zero-sum game. Someone has to lose. For some people, that's the thrill. But for a significant portion of the population, that structure fundamentally conflicts with how they see the world. They're not wired for victory at someone else's expense. They're wired for creation, for collaboration, for building something that didn't exist before. Not caring who wins isn't apathy. It might just be a different and quietly radical set of values. So let's go back to that Monday morning. You're standing there with your coffee, nodding along, smiling at the right moments. But now you know something different. You're not missing a gene. You're not broken. You're not less passionate or less alive than the people around you. You just never received the signal that this particular arena was yours. Because your arena might be somewhere else entirely. A late night conversation where ideas start colliding. A project that slowly becomes something no one has seen before. A community of people who get unreasonably excited about the same obscure thing you do. That's not a consolation prize. That's a tribe. It just doesn't have a jersey. And maybe that's okay. So the next time someone asks why you don't follow sports, you don't have to apologize. You don't have to fake it. You can just smile and say, I already have my team.